Okay, family. This is Cable Game 93. Back at it once again with a little morning inspiration. Right now, I'm sitting in front of the office, the one that I actually work out of up in the mountains. Like y'all know, I'm back in the mountains. So, therefore, that means the work is plentiful. But once again, there's a number of different circumstances that we have to deal with to be able to get to the bag in the mountains. But I'm here and I'm thankful that the bag is in full display because the work is plentiful. But once again, there's some requirements to deal with the bag in the mountains. So I'm good with that today because I'm thankful that I have work. Because yesterday I didn't have none, and that's how life goes. But I just want to start out with a little morning inspiration, dealing with the fact of how to be the source when you have limited resources. And I'm gonna go to the Bible for those that are Bible scholars and study the word, know what I'm talking about. But for those that don't study the Bible and know what I'm talking about and don't know what I'm talking about, but you may be familiar with some Bible topics. Most people know Jesus, but I'm gonna go back to Joseph, who was a type, or he was Jesus before Jesus came to the face of the earth. And Joseph went through a period where he went through a lot before he got to this space. But he got to a space where he was considered, he was over the whole nation of Egypt at that time. So he was like a governor or a boss. In today's time, he was a modern day boss, meaning that individuals would come to him to eat. So what happened was, like we know what happens in life, you have 7 years or a period of time where you balling, you bubbling, things is all gravy, all good. It seems like you can't do no wrong. But then you got periods of time when it seems like all hell done broke loose, where you got the plague or something, like everything you touch is demolished based on the fact that it's just a certain space that you may be in at that time, or the hand that you may be dealt in that moment. So it appears to be like, everything is crumbling. Joseph experienced both moments even as a boss, because during that time, from a biblical standpoint, he had 7 years of famine and 7 years of prosperity. But one thing Joseph was able to do during the time of famine, he still was a source to those that was looking for food. He still was able to be a sense of support, structure, stability in an unstable world. But first, I want to emphasize the fact that when it comes to being a source, when you have limited resources, you first must be a source to yourself. Because even, from a biblical place, we always talk about, those of us in the Christian community use the term being a blessing. But you can't be a blessing if you ain't blessed. So therefore, it all boils down to whether or not you are blessed so others can eat from you. But how can you be blessed if you don't know what being blessed is? If you don't know how to be a source to yourself, so you can be a resource to others. So my thing is, I just want to, go through a little story that I had dealing with myself this morning. Because once again, I had morning inspiration on the table, and the spirit is like, so how you gonna come? How you gonna act this morning, knowing that at the time my spirit was a little low. I was a little low this morning, and I was beginning to entertain all that unnecessary that my mind was trying to feed me. So in that moment, I had to listen to my spirit and I identify with the fact that, man, hold up. I ain't low. That's my mind that's low. I ain't in lack. That's my mind is in lack. It's my mind that's looking around and looking at the circumstances and trying to figure it out. At the end of the day, God is a constant source. He's a constant reservoir. He never changes. He never sways. So there's no up and down in God. So the only reason we have up and down, the only reason we have feast and famine, that's based on which source we listening to in that moment. And that's the conversation that I had with myself. And it brought me back to this place where, once again, I'm filled. But I was low. I'll be the first one to tell you that I began to entertain the things that my mind was coming to the table with. And I had to stop myself by speaking to my mind and saying, no, that's not me. I'm not going through. I'm not having a challenging day. I'm not having one of them moments because I identify with my spirit first and not with my mind. And then after that, the feelings change. The feelings are dictated by what's going on and by how you allow your mind to dominate. So if I'm going to subject myself to the things that come from my mind, then that's automatically going to change my feelings and what ultimately changes my outlook. But I just had to, in that moment, I had to catch myself like, hold up, man, you ain't going through nothing and don't even repeat it. And then once I begin to change the dialogue, then my reality shifted. Then my whole being began to change. And I believe that that's the process of going from, being below to being above, to being a victim and then to being a victor. So, like I said, I just wanted to use that example this morning to let y'all know that I may come with inspiration through the cable game, but that don't mean I'm exempt from the influence. But like I said, that influence was short-lived when I began to listen to my true voice, the voice of the spirit, my constant source, the reservoir that always provides, that's never low. And I'd like to give that to y'all family. Share a little something this morning for inspiration for those that have those moments when they low in their spirit. Whether, like I said, you a Bible-toting believer or whether you just somebody that doesn't have any identification with a church or with a religion, I'm letting you know you got an option. You got a spirit. And yeah, I know you've been listening to your mind for years, but I'm telling you, you got an out. You got a choice in the matter. Choose to live. Choose to listen to that voice that's first and foremost, that's going to continue to be a constant source. That's going to continue to provide you with the food and with the nourishment that you need to remain effective throughout each and every day. On that note, family, I'll holler at y'all in the next video. Later.